Hello, I'm Harshit Santosh Pore, and we are looking at a small chapter called Business Ethics. If you are looking at this video lecture right now, then it means we have already started the Business Ethics chapter in the class, and you would know by now that it is extremely easy, general, and most of the things are the part of general knowledge and something that you know already. We have discussed the concepts like what the word ethics means. Again, there cannot be a fixed definition to this. We have discussed the facts like whether the ethics can be culture specific, country specific. The answer is simply yes. And we are saying what ethics should mean in the media industry specifically. So, that is a small topic we are going to focus on today: business ethics and media. This is actually kind of remaining half of the chapter. The first half is done in the class already. This is the second half. It was a very short chapter anyway. Look at the questions here. The question number one: what do we mean by media here? Now, you know the answer already, but let me just revise this. Media is anything that is used whatsoever to communicate with the people. Anything, by which I mean anything. It can include the traditional medium, or the traditional media. Like, remember, medium is the singular, media is the plural. So it can include the traditional media like radios, newspapers, televisions, or the modern media like all these social media that we include. It can be Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter. Twitter is the very influential. Even Instagram. All these things are media in one way or the other. So media is an industry in itself. So when we talk about media, we are including all these different platforms. Now, do you think that there can be certain ways the media acts unethical? When I ask this question to students in the class, I always get an answer about the news channels twisting the truth or the news channels being extremely partisan. We have two types of news channels in this country: those who support the right wing politics, like BJP, and those who support the left wing politics, something like Congress. So, yes, there are many ways the media can be quite biased and unethical. There was a gold standard of journalism once. I'm not sure whether it is taught in even the journalism schools today, but the gold standard of journalism expected journalists to follow some basic principles. And the most basic principle of journalism was a journalist is a factual reporter of the truth. A journalist reports what he sees factually. A journalist does not express his opinions. A journalist does not give a judgment. A journalist just reports the facts. That's why they're also called as reporters. But of course, in the recent past, we have seen they are not reporters anymore. They help in shaping people's opinions, they help in shaping public opinion. And every time you're trying to shape people's opinions, you are being unethical because you're trying to force your truth on the people. Very simple. Or this is the political issues. Even while talking about the personal issues, if you remember the recent Riya Chakraborty and Sushant Singh Rajput case, that can be called as a very unethical handling of a situation. You are speculating about death of a particular person, which is very disrespectful to the dead. But the kind of media trial you ran for this poor girl Riya Chakraborty, she could have been a culprit, we don't know. But running a media trial and shaping the nation's opinion against her was definitely very unethical. But of course, you know these things already. While talking about media now, we need to understand that it is not about the television alone. We are also including something like advertisement. Can the advertisements be unethical? They certainly can be. How? Let us look at them one by one. So, we have in India something called as the Advertising Standards Council of India. As per their guidelines, an ethical advertisement must follow some basic principles. Number one, it should not offend the public decency. This can be interpreted in so many ways. When I was a child, I remember there was an advertisement of Amul Macho. ये तो बड़ा टॉइंग है. If you if you don't remember that, just watch it on YouTube. There was a ban on this advertisement after a couple of months. Very sexually suggestive. Or that cornetto ice cream advertisement, the way that girl eats ice cream, very suggestive sexually. These kind of advertisements, they offend the sense of public decency. Very suggestive. These kind of advertisements are not ethical. Very simple. There was an advertisement of again some underwear company. I don't remember. There is this, and they always show a man who wears only underwear, right? I mean, no other clothes. Who does that? But there is this man in this particular room, and the girls. It's a hotel, and there are girls around, and they find this man on this underwear. They all enter in his room, and they come out 5 minutes later, and you see the man is covered with kisses all over his bare body. Not only it is very sexually suggestive, it is very I mean, it's verging on the lines of molestation. I mean, just if you don't see a problem with this advertisement, just reverse the dynamics here. Think of that man as a woman and think of all the women who entered into his room as men, and you will quickly see what an extremely disturbing advertisement this is. It's verging on rape, it's verging on suggestive of exploitation, sexual abuse, and things like that. If you think a little, you can find many such advertisements which are extremely, I'm very sorry, the advertisements which are extremely indecent. My bad. So, yes, that was the first. The second thing is, an advertisement must maintain honesty in all the claims it is making, which means you're not making a claim which is exaggerated, which is false, which is misleading. You are not going to give false testimonials, things like that. Now, all these things are used very commonly in advertisement. Again, if you think about, you can think of at least two examples in all these categories. Think about the claims that are not honest. Let us begin with the false testimonial. Remember the Dove advertisement. मैंने एक बाल गाल पे डव लगाया और दूसरे गाल पे वॉट एवर आई यूज सम अदर सोप, और मेरा एक गाल स्मूथ था, दूसरा गाल ऐसा था कि उससे मैं मेरी दीवार रगड़ सकूं. यू सी, इट्स अ फॉल्स टेस्टिमोनियल. वी नो दोज women have not used Dove. That is a problem. But it is shown as if these are women from everyday life. They are not like models. They are the women from everyday life who are giving their own real life experience to you. The advertisement is shown like that. Typical second advertisement is Sensodyne, that falls in the same category. A doctor comes to talk to you and tells you about Sensodyne. Of course, they are not doctors. I mean, they could be. That's not the point. But when you are doing this in exchange of money, it's a claim. It's a testimonial which is purchased. So it is not a very honest advertisement. The exaggerated claim, you can have so many things here. Fair and Lovely advertisement. That is my favorite when it comes to exaggerated claim. There used to be this one particular advertisement, Fair and Lovely, that goes something like this. A girl who's dusky, she's extremely unhappy because in India apparently if you're dusky you have no future or anything. So this is the very unhappy girl because of her complexion. She comes back to her home and her father is like Ayurveda Charya, he has this long hair and long beard. He sees the daughter is very unhappy. वो तहखाने में जाता है घर के. He brings up some very old Ayurvedic book and वो कुछ तो ऐसे जड़ी बूटी मिक्स करके he makes a cream out of it which turns out to be a very white and beautiful Fair and Lovely. This girl applies the cream on her face और वो भैंस की गाय बन जाती है 7 दिनों में. और 7 दिनों में इतनी निखरती खूबसूरती, इतना निखरता गोरापन की सूरज भी उससे शर्मा जाए. एंड नेक्स्ट डे शी गोज टू कॉलेज एंड शी सिंग्स इन द कॉन्सर्ट. शी बिकम्स अ रॉक स्टार. ओ माई गॉड, लाइक फेयर एंड लवली कैन मेक यू अ रॉक स्टार. हु न्यू अबाउट दैट? सो अच्छा घर, अच्छा जॉब, अच्छा पति. शी गेट्स फेयर एंड लवली. ₹5 का फेयर एंड लवली. दैट वॉज द एडवर्टीजमेंट. आई मीन, बाय यूजिंग ₹5 का फेयर एंड लवली, इफ यू कैन गेट अच्छा जॉब, अच्छा घर, अच्छा, आई मीन, why the hell should I spend 20 lakh rupees on my MBA? That is an exaggerated claim. It is not a false claim. Fair and Lovely does make your skin a little fairer, but what they showed was exaggerated. False claim is something like Complan. Complan makes you taller. I mean, there is absolutely no scientific evidence that says Complan makes you taller. Now, if you understand what is happening here, you will also know that these kind of advertisements work predominantly in the countries like India. The rules in the Western countries, I'm talking about Europe and America especially, the rules are so strict there, Complan can never get by with a claim that says Complan makes you stronger or Complan makes you taller, or some drink that makes you intelligent. If you make a claim like that, there are going to be class action lawsuits against you. It means everyone who has bought your product is going to file a case against you in the court of law together. If there are 10,000 people who have drunk Complan, then they are going to file a court case together, and all of them are going to ask for compensation $1 million each. That is how it works in those countries. So their advertisements are not as bad as ours. This entire industry of advertisement is made to show people the dream that is completely unattainable and to make them buy the products which they probably do not need. The third thing is, you are not going to advertise products which are hazardous to the public health. This includes not advertising something like liquor, like alcoholic beverages and tobacco products. In India, this is followed even today. We cannot advertise liquor products and we cannot advertise uh, tobacco products. You have never seen an advertisement of any alcoholic beverage, and you have never seen an advertisement of any cigarette brand on television. Even when a cigarette consumption or alcohol consumption scene plays on the movies, these days they play a statutory warning that cigarette consumption or alcohol consumption is harmful to your health. The next point is not referring to any eminent personality, national leader, or national emblem in your advertisement. This goes without saying, you are advertising your product for your personal profit. It's your personal enterprise, it is your own personal company. You are not doing this for the nation, you are not running this company for the benefit of the masses, not at all. So, when you are doing this, you should not use the nation's national symbol. It can be Ashok Chakra, it can be Ashok Stambh, the four lions on the Ashok pillar. You are not the Indian national flag or any of the national personalities. It can be Gandhi, it can be Nehru, or even the alive personalities like Narendra Modi, for example, the Prime Minister or the President. You are not supposed to refer to any of these people in your advertisement because they are not your brand ambassador. You cannot put Modi's photo in your advertisement as if to show that he is supporting your venture or he is endorsing your venture. Doing that would be completely unethical. Now, I remember a particular advertisement when Reliance came up with Jio approximately 4 years ago. They had a very similar advertisement to this. The second day after Jio was launched in the Reliance's 53rd annual general meeting, one full page advertisement in the newspaper had a very prominent picture of Narendra Modi, and Reliance was saying thank you to him, which was extremely unethical. You cannot use the photo of national leader. If Modi was just a politician, that would have been a different thing, but he is the national leader, he is the prime minister. You cannot use the prime minister's picture. So that is simple. And the last one is avoiding comparative advertisement. Again, comparative advertisement is something that has picked up pace in last 10 years. I remember when I was a child, there used to be an advertisement of Colgate. They used to have two shells, apparently soaked in the water with a lot of bacteria. The dentist, wearing white coat, picks up both the shells. He brushes one particular shell with Colgate and brushes another shell with some other toothpaste. That other toothpaste is always Pepsodent. You know it is Pepsodent. It looks like Pepsodent. And at that time, Colgate's biggest competitor was Pepsodent. So although they are not taking the name, they are in fact doing this comparison. And what the dentist does is he smashes both these shells with each other, and the one that was brushed with Pepsodent breaks. The one that was brushed with Colgate sustains. This is a comparative advertisement. These days, however, we have gone beyond that and we clearly name the products. Think about the Dish TV advertisement. In the newspaper, if you have ever seen it, you'll realize they compare between different Dish TVs of different brands and different companies. It's extremely unethical. It's extremely unethical to point out they don't have what we are giving you. That is not what the advertisement is supposed to give. I mean, you can always praise yourself, but you cannot आप दूसरों के प्रोडक्ट में नुक्स नहीं निकाल सकते. That is very very unethical. So these are the some of the codes which the advertisements are supposed to follow as per the Advertising Standards Council of India, but we know they are not followed most of the times. The advertising agencies get by because there are no strict rules in this country. Very simple. Now, if you understood this topic, let us look at some of the questions here. Let us look at the first and the most important question. What do you understand by surrogate advertising? Some of you might know this term already. What is surrogate? We might have heard the word like surrogate motherhood. Surrogate is when I can't do something, I'm replacing that with something else. Surrogate literally means a replacement in place of something that is authentic. So surrogate pregnancy is when suppose a man's wife is unable to get pregnant, then the seed is implanted into the womb of some other woman who becomes a mother to this man's child. That is surrogate pregnancy, surrogate motherhood. Instead of your own wife, instead of your own woman, you are replacing your own wife with somebody else, some other woman. Shah Rukh Khan's recent son Abram was born by surrogate pregnancy, for example. So surrogate advertisement is very similar to that. Because you are unable to advertise your own product, you are replacing it with some other product and you are advertising that. If you remember one of the points we just discussed, you cannot legally advertise hazardous products in India, like alcoholic beverages and tobacco products. These industries always use surrogate advertising. Means, if I cannot advertise my alcohol brand, I am going to advertise something else. But the people will always know what the advertisement stands for. You can come up with so many examples. Think about Carlsberg Club glasses, very prominently featured advertisement on television. You see, Carlsberg Club glasses exist. Yes, it is a product. But do you think the company is actually trying to sell their glasses? 80 rupees का एक glass मिलता है. Don't ask how I know. I just know from a friend. So, you see, they're not trying to sell glasses. They're not making their profit by selling glasses. The company is not there to sell glasses. They want to sell beer to you. When you look at the advertisement, you know they are advertising beer, but they just advertise glasses instead because they cannot legally advertise beer. That is what surrogate advertising looks like. Even better example is by Kingfisher. Kingfisher launched their Kingfisher water 15 years ago. At that time, see, Kingfisher is dominant even today, but at that time, Kingfisher was the market dominator. They had the monopoly in beer segment. A company that has a clear monopoly in a product and a company that makes tremendous profit by selling beer. Remember, in alcohol and tobacco product, the profit margin is humongous, very big profit margin. When a company is making so much money by selling alcohol, do you think they also want to sell water? I mean, there are 100 water brands out there. When you go to the market to buy water, you say, "Hey, bhaiya, ek Bisleri dena." He will never give you Bisleri. He will give you water of some other brand, but you will happily buy it. You see, nobody buys water for a brand. People just buy water, and every brand costs almost the same, 15 rupees for a liter. Kingfisher never wanted to sell Kingfisher water, but they advertise Kingfisher water because you know what the Kingfisher brand stands for. And every time you watch their advertisement, which they can legally do now because it's water, in your head you know that they are all about beer. So you see, that is surrogate advertisement. They're trying to advertise their illegal product here, illegal product as in the product that they cannot legally advertise, and they're just replacing it with some other product. Even better example is in case of Bacardi. Now again, all these advertisements are old advertisements when I was a teenager. Bacardi music CDs. If you don't remember these advertisements, just Google these things and you'll find. There is a club and the people are entering into the club, and as you enter one by one, the guard at the door, he puts a Bacardi logo, a stamp, an ink stamp on your palm, on your some girl just removes a t-shirt and he gives it to her on her chest. Some girls pushes her jeans down and he gives her on her hips, something like that. Quite a vulgar advertisement actually. But this Bacardi logo is enforced on you all the time, and there is a music playing inside the club. So Bacardi music CDs, that is what the advertisement about. I mean, you see, Carlsberg Club glasses exist. Kingfisher water exists. Bacardi music CDs is not even a product, for God's sake. They never existed. They never existed. You go to any music store and try to buy Bacardi music, it doesn't even exist. So what they just created a fake product in order to advertise their alcoholic beverage, which was Bacardi. So all this is basically the surrogate advertising. Let us look at the second question. What is intellectual property right? Intellectual property right is very simple. You have heard of this term already. Every time you create something which is entirely your own, it is protected by copyright in India. It means the moment you write a poem which is entirely yours, which is completely authentic, you have written it on your own. The moment it is written by you, you automatically own the copyright of that. You must have heard those cases where Bollywood steals the song of those lesser known folk artists. Badshah had recently done that song Genda Fool, quite a catchy tune, and Jacqueline Fernandez looks beautiful, so you can watch it on YouTube. Uh, Quite a catchy tune, but that tune was copied from some Bengali, very, very poor Bengali folk artist. Of course, when the scandal broke out, Badshah very willingly gave him 5 lakh rupees, but and 5 lakh rupees is a very big amount for that folk artist, I'm sure. But this is a very small example of copyright infringement. Every time you make something that is your own, it can be a written material, it can be a painting, it can be a musical tune, it can be an art, it can be an essay, it can be a research method, it can be a method to create a product, it can be anything whatsoever. You by default get a copyright of it. That is what intellectual copyright means. If somebody steals it without your permission, then it is intellectual copyright infringement. Okay, just remember these words. That's all you need to know about copyright. At the bigger level, whenever there is a copyright, think about this. I remember a very specific lawsuit there when Apple and Samsung now both are in bed with each other. Or half of Apple's technology today is basically provided by Samsung. Very few people know of that. So today the situation is very different. But I remember the time specifically around 2009 and 2010. Apple came up with a very beautiful user interface where you can swipe the icons right and left, and your entire screen is shifted right and left. This user interface was brought by Apple. Before that, we did not have this kind of user interface. Before that, you need to swipe your screen up so that the icons which are down below appear one by one. That was the user interface earlier. But Apple's interface was copied by Samsung in their software called as Bada. Bada was used before they started with Android. And after that, Apple basically filed a lawsuit against Samsung because they had exploited Apple's copyright material, Apple's intellectual copyright, and without their permission. And of course, Samsung settled the case by paying some hefty sum to Apple. The same thing happens in the case of Corona also. The company that produces the Corona vaccine, they will own the copyright for the vaccine, and of course, other companies can also make the same vaccine, but provided they make the agreement with the original company and they pay some money to the company, only then the others can also produce the similar vaccine. So that is what the intellectual property rights mean. One of the ways of infringing the intellectual intellectual property right is by doing piracy. You have heard the word piracy already. It is usually used in terms of music, in terms of movies. When we were again teenagers, we had those CD players were a new thing, DVD players were a new thing. I don't even know whether your generation has ever used a CD player. But whenever the CD players were new things, रास्ते पे, रोड साइड पे, गाड़े पे बहुत सस्ते, मतलब 30 रुपए का MP3 मिलता था और कुछ तो 100 रुपए की मूवी सीरीज़ मिलती थी. देन द DVDs केम एंड 100 रुपए को 4 मूवीज़ मिलते थे DVDs में. दैट वॉज अ पायरेसी. There is an original CD somewhere sold at the store which would cost you maybe 600 rupees, but you are just going to the roadside stall and buying the same CD which is basically copied on a writable disc, and you are buying that movie for 100 rupees. When you buy a movie like that, you are not giving any money to the original creators, the producers of the movie in any form. This is piracy. Piracy can happen in any form and in any field. If your computer does not have an authentic Windows operating system, if your Microsoft Office is not authentic, a lot of computers do not use these licensed softwares. They use the pirated softwares. When you are using pirated software, you are buying it very cheap and you are not paying any money to the creators. Why is piracy a problem? Piracy is problem because if the original creator is not getting money, they will not have any motivation to create original content. if they are not creating original intellectual content, how will the field advance? How will the research advance? So, when a Chinese company makes a copy of some really nice, fancy technical good, and you buy that technical good from the Chinese company, the original creators who spent so much intellectual ambition and so much money into research and development, they are not getting money. And when they are not getting money, how will the companies be motivated to invent? And if they are not inventing, ultimately it's a loss to the entire world. And that is what the piracy means, and that is why piracy is a bad thing. I think this is all for today. This was a very small session on business ethics and media, and within that we have seen ethical advertising and the issues like what is piracy, intellectual property rights, and a very very important issue of surrogate advertisement. There is another small topic which we will see, but in the next time. Hope you have understood this. If you have not, just go through this again, and every time you are listening to this, try to find out more such situations, more such examples from your own knowledge. Study well, have a great time, bye bye.